Hello, everyone, and welcome. I am Dr. Janet Rourke. If you don't know me, I am the essential oil vet and veterinarian in Central Texas, and I own Hill Country Mobile Veterinary Service here. And I want to introduce something new that we're doing, which is an animal essential oil expert spotlight. And I am so excited to introduce my very good friend and colleague, an animal aromatherapist, among many other things, Frankie. So, Frankie, for the people meeting you for the first time, who are you? Where are you located? And what animals light you up the most?
Well, welcome. Thank you for having me. And as you said, my name is Frankie Henriques. I am located in Weymouth, Massachusetts, way up north. So today we're experiencing some pretty significant cold weather on this New Year's Eve. And there's a lot of things I do, but basically, aromatherapy is one of them. I'm a human aromatherapy coach. I'm a pet groomer by trade of 26 years. I'm also a Reiki master teacher, a certified raindrop technique specialist. I do a lot of other wellness modalities holistically, and basically try to encompass all that into the animal world as well, bridging that gap between humans and people, bringing them together.
I love that. So, what did your life with animals look like before essential oils entered the picture? And I know you've been using essential oils for a long time, so try to remember.
Yeah, it's so my journey probably started a good 10 years ago with oils. And one of my clients actually invited me to her house and with a bunch of other people. So we had basically a home party of essential oils and just learning about them was so unique and so intriguing. I had no idea at the time that that type of natural product was available. I had no clue what it could really do. It opened up a whole new world for me. So I remember purchasing a kit, getting it home, and opening it up and feeling like, "Oh, I'm a weird scientist now. I don't know what to do with this." Um, but it came into my life at the best time. I was in a tough relationship. My marriage wasn't fabulous. I had my own business, so I was very stressed out. I was raising my daughter. I believe at that point she was graduating high school, going into college, and I had a lot of physical challenges on my own that now I can look back and say were caused from um, emotions, sadness, depressed. I wasn't happy. And those were manifesting into strange physical anomalies that doctors just really couldn't figure out. I was having a lot of physical symptoms as well as, just not being happy and not thriving the way that you should. So they came into my life at such a perfect time. And basically, I used them aromatically um, just to feel good. And I remember asking one of my clients that invited me into this world, I said, "Can you just make me a happy spray to get rid of the negativity in my home?" That's what I wanted and to empower me. And we did it together and it was amazing. I can't even remember the oils that I used at that time. It was so long ago. Um, but that was how I got it started. And amazingly enough, um, I dug into it a little bit deeper and realized I was discovering other modalities as well. But what oils do is just so amazing because there's so many different ways to use them, and I'm sure we'll talk about this more in a little bit, but um, I discovered a whole new modality based thing that led me into more education, that led me down the chemistry path of essential oils, how they work. They've been around for centuries since the biblical days, so there's just a whole vast variety of how that opened up. And then I just continued on that journey and I just learned and used and made my own products. And it was just really an amazing experience and something that I'm very grateful for that I have right now in my life.
I love that. So a lot of us, actually, myself included, started essential oils for ourselves, for like our own benefit, for the human side of things. But is there, if you can reach back into your memories, is there an animal that you were like, an animal that really changed everything for you, where you were like, okay, I really want to shift my focus to animals? Is there one that really sticks out in your mind?
You know, one of the biggest ones that I had at that time was my parrot. I had a parrot. She was a Solomon Island eclectus. Her name was Rosie. Beautiful bird. Um, and I did start using them around her, not necessarily in the room that she was in, because, you know, and we'll get into this too, but it was, don't use them around birds, blah, blah, blah. But the hard part about Rosie was she, because she loved me and she thought I was her mate, I overstimulated her to make eggs and to lay eggs, which is very detrimental to a bird if they do it too often, especially a companion bird. And she was, I always say she was a big piece of my education. And I spent thousands at the exotic vet because, every time she'd become egg bound, it was, a trip to the emergency room. And had I known a lot more about how to use oils properly back then with her, I feel I could have managed her symptoms a lot better. And it was kind of sad in a lot of ways. And I probably am going to tear up a little bit because to save her life after 15 years, I had to rehome her. And because eclectuses, especially the females, scream so loud when they want attention, they're very hard to place in a home. Even Parrot Rescue told me it would be almost impossible. So she came to work with me, but I did find a fabulous home for her, which broke my heart. But, the good thing is now she's still alive to this day. She has only laid one egg in like 10 years. Um, so, I mean, as bittersweet as it was the hardest decision and the most selfless decision I had to make in order to save her life was to give her away. So that was hard.
Yeah, it's as much as we learn through our education and courses and things like that, I think the best education we can get when it comes to anything animals is actually from the animals themselves. And I know that even through the really, really hard stuff, those lessons have carried me forward and have become some of the things I'm most passionate about now. And it's so hard when we know now so much more than what we did back then. If only I knew then what I know now, what would I do differently? But if we knew then what we know now, we wouldn't have learned the lesson. So I love that, that she was like, it was like a turning point for you. Um, and that we definitely can learn from those experiences. I love that. How did you first discover animal aromatherapy specifically?
Honestly, I caught you on YouTube once.
Nice.
I'm almost positive it was Ask the EO Vet. I used to catch you every Sunday morning
Yeah.
because even though I think you used to do it on a Saturday night or something, it wouldn't post and it wouldn't show up on my feed until Sunday morning and or overnight something. But anyway, I used to, oh no, it was Sunday night, so I'd get up. Of course, I'm up early.
Yeah.
Anybody who knows me knows I'm up very early. You can text me anytime for help and I'm available, okay? But I used to watch it at 5 o'clock in the morning, Monday morning. And that's how I caught you originally. And I thought to myself, wow, this is so cool. And um, I didn't go much further than that, other than just catching it every weekend and following it up every Monday. And something led me to just click on the information and go to your website, which I did. And I was like, wow, well, why wouldn't it work on animals? I mean, it works on people, you know? But I didn't jump on it right away. I sat on it for a while, only because one of the biggest reasons I was already involved in so many other things. I
Mhm.
was doing my raindrop training. I had, all these other things in the pot. And honestly, the other big thing too was, you know, how do I make us? I really thought I would have to make a switch from one oil company to the other. And I had already had some not so great experiences. And I thought to myself, well, I'll table it for a while. I'll watch it. And I did. I finished what I was doing, and I would come back to it again every year. And I think it took me 3 years to finally pull the plug and go for it, only because I really wanted to finish those up. And I just did not want to get down that road of being worked into something else, you know. However, this is a much different, this was such a good experience for me all around. And we can even talk more into this, but knowing that I didn't have to switch companies, but I had already stopped with that other company because it was such a bad experience for me. Not the product, just the overall, the flow of not my direct upline, but the person above that. Getting involved with my clients and texting them and not, I was 40 something years at the time, old. We're women, we know how to make decisions. We don't need somebody telling us what we need to buy, right? I'm not that pushy salesperson, never have been. Um,
Right.
I educate people, I give them options, and if they want to take it, I have a great source, right?
Mhm.
And so I really thought I would have to make that switch in order to come over. Um, and I didn't have to. And I remember getting on a Zoom call with you before I even got into this because I'm like, I've already taken chemistry. I've already done this. Do I have to take this all over again? I was thinking I could just cruise through level one like this, and that was not the case. So, um, I'm happy about that because every program I've ever done and taken chemistry, it's just opened up a whole, and it's been different chemistry classes right along. It's opened up an enormous wealth, but yours is really digs down into the GCMS reports and the constituents and, all the layers of how to put them together and how they work. So that was just amazing to me. Amazing.
I love that. So, as you were starting out in your animal aromatherapy journey specifically, was there anything that you were really, I know you were a little nervous in the beginning, and not just because of like, you know, the the bad vibes you got from whatever, but is there anything you were really skeptical or nervous about in the beginning when working with animals, and switching from humans to animals?
Well, yeah, there's a lot of scary unknowns. I mean, people can tell you what they want, what they need, how they feel.
Mhm.
Um, you know, y- Animals, even though it's your own animal, and I think I'm worse with my own animal than
Mhm.
somebody else's. I mean, for sure, because I second guess myself with my own pets, but it's amazing how you just once you understand how the oils work, once you understand the systems of the body, once you understand, have that overall thing, then you can understand how it works. So the skepticism through education, that skeptical part diminishes. And as you become more familiar with identifying pieces, right, and behaviors, then it feels a lot more comfortable. And I was, thank God I was a groomer for 26 years because I do have a lot of experience with animals in general, dogs, mostly dogs. I did very few cats in my practice. In fact, I have two cats, but I was scared to death of cats originally before I got two cats. Um, so yeah, being skeptical about, you know, and what if I make a mistake, right? I mean, I think we all have that fear, but um, being involved in this process gives you the confidence and the knowledge, the education. Being involved weekly, we get together for office hours with
Mhm.
like-minded colleagues. And in this group is, groomers, trainers, veterinarians, animal behaviorists. It's wonderful to have that whole panel of people to
Mhm.
discuss and have those discussions about how we can help and assist an animal or sometimes even the owners of those animals too as well,
Yeah.
because that goes hand in hand.
Yeah, and it really builds confidence too when you're able to like talk about it and like work through stuff, especially
It's
when
a
you're like
great
you get in
resource.
your head. Yeah. So is there a moment early on when you first started using essential oils or using essential oils with animals? It could be either people or animals where you were like, "Oh my gosh, this really works. I'm all in."
So my own, yeah. So I did this and I don't recommend doing this, but I did this and it worked. I was just like, oh my God. So I I have a bloodhound. For those of you that don't know, I have a bloodhound, so they have very long droopy ears. And on the inside of her ear flap towards the bottom, she had this growth. And, you know, I hadn't even started the program yet, really, but I was Googling what essential oils I could use to get rid of that. And it said lavender. So I'm like, cool. And I didn't know about dilutions, carrier oils. I didn't do any of that. I just put one drop on her ear. Well, in 12 hours, it turned black. I'm like, oh my God, what did I do to my poor dog? Right? And in 3 days, it was totally gone, like it had fallen off. Now, I don't recommend doing that because I didn't know what I was doing. But the effect of how fast that worked, I was like, holy cow. And just diffusing around my house actually too, you notice a difference amongst your animals, the people that you live with. Um, it- yeah, it's just that was a big aha moment was that. And then I realized the biggest other aha from that was take a step back and really then go into the safety part of what you're doing and how to do it. And it was fine.
Love that. Is there one case that you've worked on since getting trained that or a specific situation that you'll just never forget? It's like stuck in your mind forever and why?
So two of them, and both again, both of them with my animals, with my one dog. So I do search and rescue. I travel around the country and take these trainings. And I had an emergency situation with Diamond. We just drove 17 hours to get to Indiana. And I take her out to go to the bathroom. Everything's great. We take a nap. I wake up. I go to feed her. Now, bloodhounds are very food motivated. If they don't eat, there's a major problem. I put her dish down and she looked at her food and she looked at me and I was like, oh, we got a problem. And then when I looked again, her face was all swollen. She must have gotten bit or stung or something. I don't know. Anyway, I travel with a first aid kit. I had it with me. And I'm like, I can do this, and I'm panicking because, my dog's face is swelling. I don't know if it's gonna keep getting bigger and bigger or what's gonna do. So I said, well, I know I need immune support, I need analgesic support, I need antioxidants, I need anti-inflammatory, and I need some antiseptic, and I gotta beef up this dog's immune system. And I just got to work and started using my oils, applying them every half hour with the proper dilution. I had some things diffusing. I was, putting a nice, a very lovely, sorry, I don't want to use the specific name of it, but it was a combination immune support down her spine to beef up her immune system. And I said, I'll give her a couple hours, and if I need to go to the ER, we'll go to the ER. Well, in about 2.5 hours, things started subsiding. They started calming down. By the next day, you could hardly tell. There was just a little bit of swollen on one side of her face. And within 48 hours, she was off training. She was actually seen by a veterinarian because she was the demo dog. And he was looking at her face and didn't comment on any swelling or any abnormalities or anything. So that was a good one. And there was one other time recently, about 2 years ago, that she was this came on so quick. It was very, very scary. It was about 10 o'clock at night that she started shaking. She was warm, like she had a fever. She wasn't feeling good at all. Like just something was very, very wrong. I and you know, I'm one of those people that I didn't have the resources to go to the emergency vet and spend and put $2,000 down right then and there. And again, I brought out my oils, and by the grace of God, I figured I will try to support every system in her body to get her through to the morning so I can get her to my veterinarian. And I got her to the veterinarian in the morning, and she ended up having anaplasmosis,
Wow.
which yeah, was very scary, but a couple of some bags of fluids and a good course of doxycycline, and she rebounded and was fine, and she's still fine to this day. But now I assist that throughout her life.
Right. Right. What do you wish more pet parents understood about using essential oils with animals?
Ugh, that they really are safe,
Mhm.
and enlist the help of somebody to guide them through the process, because safety is the utmost important when you're using oils. For yourself too. I mean, you can't just go to a big box store or a discount retailer and come home with your bottle of lavender and start using it on yourself and your dog. The majority of the oils on the market are adulterated. There's a lot of, even your online stores carry a lot of, they're not, they look the same, but they're not.
Yeah.
So you have to be so careful, but don't be afraid of them either. And stay offline. A lot of the information online, not all of it, but a fair amount of it has not been accurately portrayed. And now we have so much more, and I've learned this through you. I know where to get the information. PubMed has some great studies, and it's just amazing what's out there for correct information. But a lot of the original information has been debunked. It's not 100% true, but yet it still circulates, and people are still, hooked on that, that don't use them. They're not safe. There's very few that are not well that you shouldn't be using around domestic animals in your home. Um, but other than that, there's a lot of great ones that are fabulous and that you can have some excellent results with.
I love that. So, just to sum that up, one, that they're safe for animals, and two, um, they're especially safe if you're using a good quality one that isn't one of the deep fakes on Amazon, right? So,
Absolutely. Yeah, well, yeah, and of course, you know, that's why you really should enlist the assistance of an animal
aromatherapy.
aromatherapist.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
or
agree.
somebody who can help you go through that process and give you the resources to purchase your oils
Yeah.
from a reputable place that does the right testing, that does care about the environment, that, is the full package and isn't, over producing and stripping of natural resources and, not giving you the product that they say they're giving you, you know. So it is very important. Safety is huge. And other than that, once you learn that, don't be afraid to use them.
Love it. So what's one common misconception that you hear like all the time that you'd love to clear up?
Again, that you should never use essential oils, especially, peppermint, especially, oh, I've heard it all, like bergamot and all these, and there are certain limits and restrictions with certain types of oils, yes. This is why you enlist the help of somebody who can help you have that conversation of best how to use them, how to apply them, ways to apply them, how to dilute them, etc. And, creating a safe place for them to take place too. You know, there's lots of things you do in your home, but using them properly is a huge benefit.
Love it. So if someone said, Frankie is the go-to person for this blank, what would you say? Like, what would you say that is, or what would you want that to be?
Most people, especially my clients over the years, it's always itching and anxiety. Those are the two biggest things, which it's a great conversation to have. However, both of them, if you unpack them individually, there's a lot of components of itching, a lot of components of anxiety. There's not a one size fits all for all animals. A lot of it, you really need to sit down, break these down, and work with them step by step. And also, really ask that owner, what situations are they experiencing itching and anxiety, and develop a protocol to start working and alleviating those symptoms.
I love that. And it's really interesting because a lot of the a lot of the animals that are really itchy also have anxiety. So it's they kind of go hand in hand sometimes. So I 100% agree. Those are two very, very complex issues that are very individualized. And we can say, oh, here's some oils for calming, or oh, here's some oils that can help with skin. But it's so specific and individualized for that individual animal that you really do need like a person like you, Frankie, to work with to kind of break it down and be like, okay, we've tried this, this isn't working, let's try something else, and actually going with them the long haul. It's usually a good 3, 6 month process at least to really figure those out. And if you really do have a dog with anxiety, you probably have been through months of that already, even with your regular veterinarian, and you're just not getting anywhere. And so I just want to tell everybody who's watching, if that is you, reach out to Frankie. She's amazing. What patterns do you see over and over again in the animals that you see or the people that you see?
That's a very, again, such a complex question in a way because, we know that we have this connection between animals and people. And one of the biggest things I've seen over the years is a lot of, unfortunately, what the human owners, pet parents have for diseases and
Yeah,
anxiety and things their animals have,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
So it's a real, again, it's not a simple question. To unpack that is that's like a whole nother discussion. But that's the biggest thing I've seen. And I've seen it. So now after 26 years of being in business and grooming, I've seen it not only on their first set of dogs, but on their second set of
Yep.
dogs.
Yep.
Um, so, the that, people get an animal for support, emotional support, and sometimes they don't mean this, but they put too much of the support on the animal, that they are the support person, and then that creates anxiety in them potentially, and then vice versa. So, it's a real great conversation to have but that's the biggest trend I see.
Yeah.
People who are, have diabetes, their dogs have diabetes, those types of things. And intuitively, right, we end up picking that same thing over again.
Mhm.
Even people that rescue, a lot of times rescue that same type of animal that
Mhm.
they've had the first time. They just migrate towards that.
Yeah,
But there's great tools now that don't necessarily always require, medications, neurological medications. You can use a lot of natural stuff as well, and a lot of it will work too in complementary with that stuff, just to help ease their overall systems and calm everything down. But that's a big question too. That is a lot of discussion.
for sure. Is there one simple shift that maybe we can take anybody give to everybody who's watching today? One simple shift that they can make to that usually makes a pretty big difference with most of your clients.
The biggest shift I can think of, and it was a big shift for me too, is detoxify your home
Oh,
of
yeah.
the chemicals that we're using to clean, that we're using to launder our clothes. We forget our animals are walking on the floors, they're sleeping on our beds. So if you're using commercial sprays, your animals are ingesting this through the natural grooming process every time they lick themselves. We already know that these products, most of them have PFAS, which are forever chemicals. So we know they have neurodisruptors, endocrine disruptors, reproductive problems. They're full of chemicals. So just imagine, I mean, our bodies, we live longer as humans. Our bodies can only handle so much of that. So imagine an animal that their life expectancy is 8 to 13 years. How much of that toxic overload can they really handle before it becomes a negative effect, right?
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
if I could help anybody right now,
Do the
today,
detox.
yeah, do
Do the
that
detox.
for yourself
Detox.
too.
Yeah, detox your dogs and detox yourself. I love that. That's so good. That's actually really true, right? Because our liver processes all of that. And if we can detox our homes and then also detox ourselves, and detox our dogs, like that is like we're starting off, we're like resetting everything and starting off with something good. All right. So who do you feel most called to help right now?
Uh, Again, I'm gonna say most people with dogs. Just because that's what I see the most when I'm out walking. I see them in the grooming industry, and I just almost everybody has a pet, a dog, mostly, right? So again, even in your outside areas, if you have barns and you have horses and chickens and stuff, just think about the things you're using for fertilizers on your grass.
Mhm.
If you have any bushes in the area that you're spraying anything on, just be mindful about that stuff.
So good. Now, when we're talking about, you talked about working with animals with some pretty serious like health concerns, such as mental health, emotional health, behavioral health, and physical health stuff. And a lot of times, at least in my experience, people will come to the animal aromatherapy as like a Hail Mary after they've already tried everything else, versus ahead of time, which is sometimes if you can get it earlier, you're able to actually fix things a lot faster. So, can you talk about what's different about working with you versus working with someone's regular veterinarian? Maybe they're already seeing their veterinarian for something, but they want to, add in aromatherapy, see if it'll help versus you know, do they have to choose one or the other? That sort of
Sure.
thing.
Well, I'm glad you bring that up because I am not a veterinarian. I do not diagnose, I do not treat. That's up to the doctor, such as you. That's your job. But
Mhm.
as an animal aromatherapist, I can support the experience of healing for the animal and the caretaker. I'm here to support. other systems of the body that may need support while an animal is going through, whether it's a chronic treatment or an individual treatment for a diagnosis. Um, I'm here to help and empower the owner of that animal to be able to confidently take care of that animal and sometimes give emotional support for that animal as well and themselves. When you're talking about a terminal case, um, both parties are have that energetic connection that really needs to be assisted during that process. But, my my ability to assist in that whole process, make sure that the oils that we're using, aren't complicating anything, and definitely empower that homeowner, that pet owner to be able to support that animal through the rest of their life. So I like to work with my veterinarians, with the homeowner as that basically like a supportive piece. I mean, like I said, I do not treat, I do not diagnose. That is not my wheelhouse. Don't even want to be there.
I love that. So I love that you can like come alongside the veterinarian and maybe fill in some of the gaps. So the veterinarian's doing their job and you're like, okay, well, let's look at let's look at all these candles that you have in your home. Like the whole picture versus the just like fixing the problem or like focusing on the problem
Well,
because
and
there's
they're very
usually go ahead.
I'm sorry, and they're
Yeah, you're
very,
good.
right now veterinarians are in a shortage. They're
Mhm.
understaffed, they're overworked. Um, you know, Of course, they want to be able to help all their clients answer the questions and give them guidelines to where to go and outlets. But a lot of that I can do. If they need a aromatherapy, I mean, if they need a behavioralist or something like that, I can definitely assist in that process
Yeah.
and hopefully alleviate some of the pressure off of them, the practice,
Yeah.
because they are really so overwhelmed right now.
Yeah. Yeah, and you're able to take the time with that person and give them a little bit more attention and one-on-one um work that maybe they have like 10-15 minutes with that animal and then they have to move on to the next client. So I love that. That's so amazing, Frankie. I love that your heart is to help all the dogs with all the things. If somebody wants to reach out to you and connect with you, how do they do that? How do they connect with you or work with you?
Okay, so there's lots of different ways. You can send me an email, and my email address is 9lotuslove@gmail.com. You can reach out to my website, which is lotuslovema.com, and you can click a discovery call with me if you would like to off of that website. It's a 30-minute free discovery call. You can also, we can also schedule a Zoom if you do engage with me and you want to incorporate my services. We can do a lot of this over Zoom. I do like to actually come out to the house and do the first assessment, and I will travel within a certain amount of, as long as it's not 4 hours away. I always like a good road trip, but not that far. But please reach out, like I said, through email or website, um, and then we can connect and figure out how to best support you in a way that works for all parties involved and safely.
Love that. And do you do multiple animals too? If they have more than
Yes.
one animal, do you do
Yes.
that? Okay. So if you could leave our friends watching this with one message about animals healing or trusting their intuition, what would that be?
The biggest thing for me, again, would be I have to go back to the toxins, but also be your own best advocate, really take the time to figure out and intuitively what you need and what your animal need and work with those together. And again, come up with some great plans for, walks, going out on walks, enjoying your pet in a different way. Like enjoy them as they would as a dog. My bloodhound, I love what she does. We do scent discrimination work. It's so amazing when you can appreciate what an animal can do in all aspects of it, whether it's a horse, a goat, or cow, or a cat. But just definitely um, really enjoy that animal to the fullest and give them the best possible life that they can have, through an all natural, non-toxic environment. Um, and then both people will thrive.
That's so good. Thank you so much, Frankie, for taking time to chat with us today and to share some of your story and a little bit about what you do and help people. Um, I just am so excited to highlight you to everyone. I've seen you do such incredible work. And again, if you are watching this and you want to reach out to Frankie, we have her information below somewhere. So reach out to her and schedule a discovery call with her today. All
And
right, you
thank you
guys.
for having me.
Absolutely. Bye, everybody.